In this video, I'm going to show you exactly what you need if you are a complete beginner and you want to have your own YouTube studio. I'm going to show you guys the exact setup that I use that you can actually replicate and have your own budget YouTube studio without having to spend more than $1,000. Stay tuned. I'm going to break up this whole video exactly the three trinities of what you need when it comes to having any sort of video production, even if you are at home a complete beginner with not a lot of a budget to spend on equipment. Stay tuned. So when it comes to exactly what type of the three trinities that you need, first off is obviously visual. So what I recommend, the three types of cameras, is you have your entry DSLR, which I'm using right now is the D5200, but if you're feeling a little adventurous, there are other cameras out there. I'll link them in the description below, such as the Sony a6600, the Panasonic GH5, the Canon M50, the Canon T7i. These are along lines of the entry level DSLRs that can get your visual going. But if you're on a really budget, you can pick up the older models of each of the lines that I just mentioned. So for example, you don't need the highest of the newest of the brand new. It's like buying a car, right? So what I recommend is, let's say you want a Sony Alpha series, which is a APS-C crop body sensor, and you can't afford the A6600. So what you can do is get the older model. So that is the A6500, even the 6300 that you can get under 1500, and that is a solid 4K camera that you can get to start off, and that is more than capable for things like autofocus and things like getting started with your own YouTube studio. But if you don't want to invest into a lot of the lenses, as you can see here, this is a DSLR, which means you can change the lenses, and you want to invest in like anywhere from $1,000 plus in terms of lenses. What I recommend is you just getting yourself one of these guys, which is either the Sony RX, I think it's Mark 7 now, but you can pick up the Mark IV, the Mark III, and it shoots in 1080p completely fine. I'm using it right now so you can see the actual quality for this one. I'm using the Sony RX Mark III. The autofocus does lag a little bit, but it's a lot better in terms of autofocus compared to my Nikon D5200, and it's a great vlogging camera. And you can essentially put this onto the next part. What I'm going to talk about is, once you figure out what camera you want, is you want to have something to hold your camera, aka a tripod. So what this camera I'm putting on is a D5200, and you want your lens. When it comes to lenses, I actually recommend pretty much you're looking at a wide angle lens, so you're looking at 16. You want anywhere from a 12 to 18 mil lens. On a crop body it's a little bit more, but not complicated into the 1.5x. But your lenses, you want anywhere from 18 mil is a good enough for a wide enough lens, so it's perfect for a talking head video. And actually both of these lenses is at 18, and as you can see, it's the perfect height for headspace and your shoulder width, so you can have all your YouTube needs. But like I said, we're gonna get into the tripod right here. What I'm using is the Manfrotto Advanced Compact Tripod. It is carbon fiber, it retails for under $200. I've used this ever since I started video production, and what's great about it is that it can also be used for portrait photos, right? And it's super light, compact. I take it everywhere I go. It has a cute little carrying bag with it, and it can go up to around 6 feet in terms of height. And I've also made an in-depth video review about it. The only cons about this tripod is it doesn't have a leveler or a bubble, but for the most part you can kind of eyeball where you want it to be level. So a little overwhelming, but first is getting yourself a 4K camera. Entry level, you want mid-level, link is in the description of the camera so you have your visual. Next, you want to have something to hold your camera, aka a tripod, and that is this guy. And last in the holy trinity, you have two more. So that kind of goes into the visual, right? That is factor one, your visual. So you have your camera, your tripod. Next is we're gonna talk about audio. And right now I'm currently using the Rode Link wireless lav system for my Nikon D5200. I also have a full in-depth review on this guy, but when it comes to actually investing in lenses and audio is just as important. So this guy retails for $300 to $400 in terms of getting good audio, because you never want to really rely on in-camera audio, because microphones in body camera, they just suck. They probably do it on purpose so you can invest more in audio equipment. But yes, I recommend either you get yourself a wireless lav so you don't have to be constantly in front of the camera, or what you can do is you can actually get yourself a Rode shotgun mic, or like this guy. This is the Rode Video Mic Pro, the older model. There is a newer model, but this is the one that I also use. This goes on top of the camera, and it is really good if you want to not have to have a wireless mic packed up all the time, but it does use battery. An alternative to that is you want even more budget-friendly equipment is the Rode Video Micro. This guy uses no battery and super light, compact, and it's definitely an upgrade from your existing mic on your camera. So now we've covered visual, we covered audio, right? Those are the two audios I recommend, and I saved the last for the most important. I would say just above anything else, the last and most important thing when it comes to having your own studio is having good lighting. You can have the best camera lens, but if you don't have good lighting, you won't make the most highest video quality, because you're putting a lot more stress on the camera sensor. So right now, decent lighting setup, right? All I have is just one softbox right here. If I turn that off, you can see my video just went from to, man, that is a really dark lighting. And then I would have to naturally bump up the ISO on my main shooter. And that doesn't look as good as compared to if I crank down the ISO and have some sort of lighting. So there's essentially three types of alternatives when it comes to lighting. Why am I holding this? I've been holding this the whole time. So when it comes to lighting, I'd say in terms of order, camera, audio, and lighting, that is just important, and they're all equally important. And the first and easiest way, and if you're on a super budget and you don't want to spend less than $1,000, then just film in front of a camera. Make sure you're filming in front of a window, so the window is actually facing you, and God or the universe or whatever you believe is your actual lighting. But if you want some more affordable lighting and actually having decent lighting where you can control it, what I recommend is get yourself a big softbox. This right here I'm actually using is the newer softbox right here, and you can set it up in a way where you have two softboxes in a sandwich style lighting, one facing here, one facing you. Or what I'm doing right now is all I have is just one softbox pointed straight up, and I am right here standing and talking. And as you can see, it's pretty evenly lit because I'm bouncing the light off of the ceiling onto my face. And the whole point of having a softbox is that it is a soft dispersed light instead of a harsh light coming right at you. So like I said, there is the softbox, so that retails around $150 to $200, and that will get you decent lighting. The only con about that is that it does take up, as you can see here, quite a lot of space. So the next alternative, what I recommend, is getting yourself an actual ring light. Doesn't really what brand out there, they're all pretty much the same. They do the same job. This itself is my favorite, is the Mount Dog ring light that I actually use. As you can see here, I actually have a Neo ring light as well, and I have reviewed it. And for most of my videos that you can see, I actually light my videos with just one single ring light, just pointed off to the side, like right here. So usually how my videos look is I have my camera right here, and then what I have is I have my ring light just off to the side, so it's not pointing straight at me, because one of the biggest mistakes when people actually film with the ring light is that they film through it. So if they film through it, it gives you that sense of that little halo or eyeball effect in your eyes, and it can get a little distracting. So I like to have it almost like a Rembrandt or kind of cinematic, so it's pretty much right here filming, and it casts a little bit of a shadow, but for me that does the job. Whew, that was a lot to go over. But hopefully that was able to help you guys set up your own YouTube studio for less than $1,000. And like I said, guys, that was how you make your own budget YouTube studio for under $1,000. And you're like, Peter, you know the camera itself is more than $1,000. I'm like, yes, but I'm always been, use what you have. You can swap out certain things. For example, if you have an old DSLR laying around, use that, and that will save you $1,000. Or most people have your smartphones. You can have the exact same setup with just putting your phone onto a tripod. Most phones nowadays shoots 4K, and that will get you not super cinematic. You're not looking at video production, but if you're just looking for just having YouTube videos and just talking head like this, that is more than enough. And if you guys want me to see what my phone can do when it comes to cinematics, or just having your own YouTube studio, let me know in the comments, and smash that thumbs up button and subscribe if you haven't yet. I'll show you the power of your phone. But that was my overview of how you can have a studio for, I would say, realistically under $2,000. You have your lights, right? You just honestly just need one. If you want to get fancy, you have like a backlight just using a clamp. You have your visual, which is your videos. So you have anywhere from an entry DSLR to an entry level mirrorless cameras like the Canon M50s. You can use even an old school vlogging camera like a Canon G7X2, your Sony RX Mark IV, 5 now, they even shoot 4K. And if you have the budget, I would recommend something along the lines of even like getting a Nikon Z50. And there's so much cameras that you cannot go wrong. The ones that I recommend are in the comments and description below. And overall, visual and your audio as well. I'm using the Rode Link. You can use shotgun mics you can use shotgun mics, you can use wireless lav mics. As long as any sort of mic instead of the camera, you'll already up your video production. And those are your three trinities: your visual, your audio, and your lighting, right? And that what makes my videos, you're like, wow, you actually filmed that on a 10-year-old camera? Yes, sir, I do. And last but not least, you film all that and you essentially find 3 corners in your studio, your room, wherever you want. Right here, as you can see, I use for every setup I have, all I do is I just turn my camera and I find another corner in my studio, in my /home office. And that is how I film or make my own budget YouTube studio for complete beginners. Super easy. I think it looks pretty solid for something that's just at home, not a rented studio. And that is how you get your best budget bang for your buck. Under $2,000, if you want to get serious about video, if you want to get more serious, get my free camera guide. It will help you, as well as you want to get help in terms of using a camera, get my mastery guide. And my name is Peter. You're watching A Broke Visionary Collective, and that was a little bit of a BTS when it comes to how I set up my cameras. What exactly do you need? You don't need the whole spiel, and use what you got, and you'll be amazed of what you can do. And my name is Peter. You're watching A Broke Visionary Collective, where we all start with nothing, but you can always create something. Cheers.